Welcome to The Artist Matters. I'm Alex Rudy. Each episode features an artist sharing their creative journey, their origins, what inspires them, their process, and offering up a little inspiration, motivation, and advice to help you on your creative journey. Whether you're doing it for fun or looking to make a living, this show will help you on your journey and let the world know your art matters. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Artist Matters. I'm your host, Alex Rudy. And welcome to October, the month of Halloween, my favorite holiday. It's full of creative sparks. People go out there, decorate their houses. They do a lot of do-it-yourself stuff, which I want to get involved in. I've been watching a lot of videos. I just have to go out there and do it. It's amazing the stuff people can churn out for this crazy holiday that we love so much. And I'm only doing 2 episodes this month, but they are Halloween themed, of course. And, I'm super excited for this episode because we have our first ever returning guest. It is none other than Robert Ottone. Interviewed him last year. His horror anthology called People, a horror anthology about love, loss, life, and things that go bump in the night, had just come out. And I had to interview him. I've known him since he was a little kid. And to see that he created a book and a publishing company called Spooky House Press. And they're all out there for people to enjoy and read. And I did read the book after our interview. So amazed with the imagination in his mind and these crazy worlds that he created. A lot of it taking place in Resting Hollow, a place in New York. And just to see all these different ideas, nothing was the same. There was a lot of different things, from a guy going after a bear that killed his friend to a kid thinking, what would Batman do? And solving actually a crime that happened in his town. And even the story that starts off that anthology called Tell Me I'm Pretty, which is a novella dealing with a lot of supernatural elements. You'll have to read it. I don't want to give anything away. And man, it's really amazing just to see the work he churned out there. And to add another creative layer to this, he published another author's book, a previous guest, Michael Jess Alexander, and his book, Boarded Windows, Dead Leaves, which we discussed. And he's part of the Spooky House Press family now. So great to see another author joining the fold, and his work is really good. Check my interview with him. And the reason I brought Robert back was because he came out with another collection. This one's a little bigger. It's 258 pages, and this one is called Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. There are 18 stories in this collection, and a lot of Resting Hollow is mentioned in there. But the story does start off with a novella, which is the title of the book, Her Infernal Name. A lot going on there. And I was fortunate enough to get an advanced copy, so I read the whole thing, which was great. This time, when I interviewed him, I had some knowledge of the book, and we could discuss things a little further without giving too much away. And I highlight some of my favorite stories in the collection. And he goes into how he came up with some of the ideas for those stories and some of the themes that make me realize, wow, these have deeper meanings. And we kind of go off on a tangent on some comic book stuff too, but hey, it's to be expected. But regardless, it was just a blast to reconnect with him and have him on the show again. And his book is out now, so it's a perfect Halloween treat to check out. So let's get into this. And here is my second chat with the one and only Robert Ottone. All right. Let's welcome back Robert Ottone. Hello again.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Great. I'm so happy to have you back, my first returning guest.
I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so proud to be the first returning guest. That's so cool.
Yes, you are definitely not an Imperious Rex.
Did you ever explain what that means to people? Like, if they live, because that's like our own vernacular, but it's not really our. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like our thing.
Yeah, that's the Submariner, Namor from Marvel Comics. That's one of his sayings he says to somebody who pisses him off. You're an Imperious Rex. And this guy played Namor's voice for my Avengers comic that we did. Not my Avengers comic, but the one I did voiceovers for and recorded and all that. But you didn't get to say the line. I don't think you got to say Imperious Rex.
I did. I did get to say Imperious Rex, yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe it didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that'll be on the Snyder cut.
Rudy cut.
The Rudy cut.
God, I would love nothing more than to do another thing like that for you. Like, that was so cool.
Well, maybe we're talking some Justice League. You never know. That'd be fun. I know who's going to be playing Booster Gold. That's for sure. That guy. But what a year. Your book, People, came out. And what was the reception like since last year?
People has solid reviews. I'm very happy. It's done well. I didn't really expect it to do anything. So for people to no pun intended, for people to enjoy it is very nice. And it's led to me getting into an MFA program, which has been very taxing on my time. And so, yeah, it opened some doors in that regard. And, yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
So I didn't read the book until after our interview, and I'm glad I did.
Good.
No tricks on me. I read it.
That was one of my favorite quotes that I got for the book.
It just came to me. I was like, wow, I know the guy who wrote this. There's another one. But what's so interesting to me was that a lot of the stories were from the first-person point of view. Why?
I think because I wasn't comfortable enough with third person yet, and it's strange because when I go to first person now, I find it dreadfully uncomfortable, and I've gotten closer with my third person writing since you can almost kind of see it in the new book how I start fairly distant from my characters, almost like omniscient, almost ridiculous. And then I get a little closer and closer towards some of the later stories or whatever. But yeah, a lot of it was in first person, and I look at it now and I'm like, wow, I did it once. Why am I so uncomfortable with it now? But it's just being out of practice, I think. Yeah, and I think I was also inspired. Bret Easton Ellis writes in first person, and with him being my hero, basically my literary hero, I still am. When I think of first person, he's who I think of, and I try to write in his version of first person in some ways still. Whereas with third person, I'm trying to get as close and as intimate to the characters as possible now in a different way. Like one of the projects I'm working on now is very close third person, and I'm loving being that intimate and close with the characters. So it's tough though to go back and forth between the two.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. But one of the projects I'm working on that's first person it's a YA book.
Young adult.
And yeah, it's like a science fiction horror hybrid kind of thing. It takes place on the high seas also. So
Not
and actually sort
seas.
of down.
Not the low seas, the high seas.
Not the low seas. But yeah, and that's first person, but that's first person almost out of necessity, because apparently YA does better in first person because younger readers can connect to the writing a little easier if it's in first person. That's what I was told anyway. I've been told conflicting things. But I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with first person. I originally wrote about 30 pages of it in third person. And then I was told to rewrite it in first person, and that was a nightmare. But it allowed me to get into my character's head a lot more, and because my lead character in this, in this book, she has a mild form of autism. I was able to get into the way she thinks a little better by going first person. So it helped a lot, but it is still difficult.
And a female, no less.
Yeah.
Any different writing first person POV for female as opposed to a male character?
I thought of some old advice that I had gotten from a guy that I knew that did some work for DC back in the day. And the old standing marching orders at DC were Superman and Batman never ask questions. They're only assertive. They're only manly, tough guy men. Like, that was what they told some of their writers at the time. They can never ask questions because they're Superman and Batman and they're blah, blah, blah. And then I remember thinking at the time, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, because a knowledgeable or a curious or intelligent person is always asking questions. Yeah. So I went the opposite. So I didn't want her. I wanted her to be in the hero or I still want her to be in the hero tradition of brave and tough and strong and all this stuff. But at the same time, she's a child. So I want her asking questions, and I want her to be unsure of herself and unsure of her world. The world that she lives in is very fractured. So it would make sense that she would have a lot of questions. So I try to make her as strong as humanly possible. She is a tough character. She makes a lot of mistakes, and a lot of the mistakes that she makes are things that help form her into the character that she will be by the third book. It's a first part of a trilogy.
And that's kind of what shapes many of us. We learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, and I don't understand this notion of to be a hero, to be a tough character, you have to be stoic and never ask questions and always make the right decision. It's like that's boring. Yeah.
It's nothing colorful about there. There's no dimension. Who wants to follow a journey of that?
Yeah,
I mean, look at Luke Skywalker.
Right.
He didn't know what he was doing. I mean, he complained a lot, but he had to go on the journey and learn the Force, for crying out loud, and fly a spaceship into a Death Star and blow it up. He was just a farm boy.
And the best thing about it is they show him making arguably the biggest mistake of his life and thinking that he can take on Darth Vader before he's ready. Yeah. And what happens? He loses his hand and gets his heart broken.
Yeah, all in one fell swoop.
Right. So if he was just a superhero the whole time, this invincible whatever, God, how boring would that be? He would be. I was gonna make a comment about Rey in The Force Awakens, because she's kind of invincible and nothing really bad happens to her. But not saying that George Lucas knew what he was doing better than Disney or anything.
But he's not saying it. No.
No.
You got to wave your hand. He did not make that comment.
Oh, no, totally. What do you mean? I don't know what we're talking about.
This isn't the podcast you're looking for.
Do you know, sometimes I feel bad for not liking those Star Wars movies. I enjoyed the first one, the Force Awakens or whatever. That was perfectly fine. Mostly because I love John Boyega because of Attack the Block. Like, he's just awesome. And then the next one was awful, and then the third one was awful. And then I just kind of started hating Star Wars because of it. And now it's like, The Mandalorian's the best thing in the Star Wars property since Empire Strikes Back. And I don't know. I'm like shooting myself in the foot to ever write for a Star Wars thing, I guess, by saying this. But
yeah, I agree. It's like they just wanted to retread the original trilogy in a different way. That's what I think. Because I'm like, bringing back the Emperor. Oh, come on.
Wasn't that the weirdest thing?
That was kind of like, and Rey's his granddaughter. Like, when did the Emperor have time to bump uglies?
Right, and who would?
Yeah, really.
Jesus, he was scarred and ugly when Mace Windu fought him.
But then he had the power of the dark side. He probably could have influenced any woman he wanted. Like, come here, baby. Give me some sugar, baby. No. Anyway.